afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is I'm the principal of IHM Pusa, and it is a pleasure for me to welcome our esteemed guest, Mr. Puneet Chatwal, who is the CEO and MD of the Indian Hotels Company Limited. And a pleasure for me to welcome Mr. Arindam Kunar, who is the president of the Pusa Alumni Association. And today's program, it is the second episode in the Pusa Talk series, in which we are getting the most illustrious alumni of our institution to come and speak with the faculty and the students of IHM Pusa. In fact, this is not how we wanted it to start. The first episode, we wanted to do it with Mr. Chatwal, and it was in the month of March. We had planned a tete-a-tete meeting with him over a leisurely lunch, so that strategies could be, worked out for IHM Pusa. But then all of a sudden, we have entered into the desperate times, and desperate times, as they call for desperate measures. So we thought maybe some value should be salvaged in this situation, and we are trying to take it online. And we have taken an initiative to involve our students in this exercise now, so that the words of wisdom which are coming out of our esteemed guests on this program could be shared by our students. So, Mr. Chatwal, and for everyone who is attending this webinar today, I would like to share how it all started. We at IHM Pusa, at the alumni is one of the most important stakeholders for any academic institution. By your love, your affection, your good wishes, has consistently been rated as the premier institution in the country for hospitality. We wanted to continue to hold that position for a long time, and our alumni association is playing a role for the competitive edge that this institution has to carve for itself, day in, day out. And I like to appreciate the effort of the alumni association, the executive committee members of the association, and especially the president of the association, to make creative things and new things like this Pusa Talk happen. So I would not like to take a lot of your time, and it will be a pleasure for me to invite Mr. Arindam Kunar, who is the president of FEMA, our alumni association, Mr. Chatwal, on behalf of the FEMA, introduce him to the audience present today. Mr. Arindam.
Thank you, Mr. Pan. First of all, I think it's a ode to the partnership that the Alumni Association has with the college, and it's not possible without the support of the principal and the faculty and the students of the college to have this kind of great bonding that we have, which helps us bring stalwarts like Mr. Chatwal to have a chat with us today. I know that the star speaker for today is Mr. Chatwal and not me. I'm very conscious of it, so I'm going to keep it very short and sweet. My objective is to sort of introduce Mr. Chatwal, although he does not need any introduction. 1984 is when he passed out of this college. So in a way, it is not that long back that he was in this college, and in a very short while, he has achieved significant achievements in his professional career. Of course, Mr. Chatwal is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer since 2017, November, for IHCL, or as we fondly know as the Taj Group of Hotels. Of course, 3 decades of leadership experience in highly acclaimed hotel groups in Europe and North America. Under his leadership, IHCL has embarked on a journey of reimagination to achieve sustainable, profitable growth. Mr. Chatwal was the Chief Executive Officer and member of the Executive Board of Steinberger Hotels, Deutsche Hospitality prior to this assignment. And he was also the Chief Development Officer at the Residor Hotel Group, which is now called the Carson Hotel Group. He is, of course, as we know, as I mentioned, the graduate of IHM Pusa and also Delhi University. And he has completed an MBA in hospitality from ISEC Paris. and also an advanced management program from INSEAD. Mr. Chetwal has won awards including the prestigious Carlson Fellowship and was rated as one of Europe's 20 extraordinary minds in sales, marketing, and technology by HSMAI European Award 2014. He was also the first alumni included in the ASEC IMHI Hall of Honor in 2014. My personal interactions with Mr. Chetwal has been limited, but having worked with the Taj Group of Hotels for 10 years, and I see what kind of growth, the kind of ambition, and the kind of performance that's being delivered in the last few years under his leadership. I know that there is a huge amount of learning that we can all have from him. But more importantly, I also feel that he's one of us in a sense of starting his career and his life from the same place that we all have. So thank you, Mr. Chetwal, for accepting our invitation to talk to us. I know that you're an extremely busy man, even now, even more because of all the pandemic that's going on. And in spite of that, you've been able to take out some time for us. We deeply appreciate it. And over to you, Mr. Chetwal, for your talk.
Thank you, Arindam. Thank you, Mr. Pant. Good afternoon to everyone who's attending digitally. It's actually nice to interact with your school, with your college. Every once in a while, it gets you back, back to where you came from, and I think that's possibly the most important message that we all should keep in mind. Never forget where you are coming from. So, albeit not in person, at least we are able to e-meet each other. And I think I have a little presentation for around 10 minutes or so. I'll see if I can get to share it. If it works, makes easier. Okay. 1 second, I have to move the window on a slideshow. Okay. Is it all visible?
Yes, it is clear, sir.
Perfect. To me also. So this is, I think we all know this building. This is where it all started, 81 to 84, as Arindam just mentioned. And till now, it has been quite a fulfilling journey. I wish I had actually a picture of my school. So I would have put the high school first, then Pusa, then ASEC, pictures of all the schools. But that's, I think it's more relevant for today is the Pusa building. And not much has changed here, since 84. It was always very functional, and I'm sure it's very functional today. As Arindam also pointed out, a very quick brief on my journey is 84 was IHM Pusa. I started as a management trainee with the Ashok Group. A lot of people would think that is public sector, government, etc. But I personally feel and believe that's the best foundation and the learning anyone could have gotten way back then, because post-independence, and we're coming close to the Independence Day, for the first 30, 40 years, the role the public sector played in the growth of developing India is something which we should never forget. So whether it is the Steel Authority or is the MMTC or ONGC or Indian Oil or ITDC, I think all these entities were responsible for, as the name would suggest, Ashok Group was a group of hotels, but the parent company or the umbrella company was India Tourism Development Corporation, which had the core purpose of creating the infrastructure of development of tourism in India. And I think that was a great opportunity in those times, because it made you a 360-degree professional. I'll come to that also in a bit. Then 5 years later, I was very blessed. It was 1989, and the year of a French festival in India, an Indian festival in France. And then it was 200 years of French Revolution celebration also. So we got, a few of us got a scholarship to go to ESSEC, and that's how we could afford that education. And my first trip actually outside of India was at that time. There at ESSEC, I got to know of a family, and the daughter studied with me. We were all a part of a little group that exists till date. And they said, no, you belong here in Europe. And they used certain strings and tricks. And although I came back for a few weeks, they got me to Germany. So from France, I went to Germany. But one thing was there, while at PUSA in the morning, I used to go to Alliance Française to learn French, and in the evening to Max Muller to learn German. So all 3 years, without missing any of that, I was also learning French and German. So everything kind of started falling into place. Then I transitioned to Carlson Group in '98 and post 9/11 to Residor. Later that became Carlson Residor. Today it is called Radisson Hotels. And Carlson Residor became the Residor Hotel Group and now the Radisson Hotel Group. While I was there in 2012, I was sent to INSEAD to do an advanced management program that's 4 weeks, very intensive, excellent program, and that also helped to shape what followed thereafter after 2012. One of the consequences of going to that program was that I realized that I needed a change, and I came back and I resigned. So normally that 4 weeks program costs $50,000 that the company spends on you. So, but one of the things that it does is it opens up your mind to where you are going, and what you need to do. Then I got the opportunity to be the CEO of Steigenberger Hotel Group, which was later rebranded, the umbrella company, into Deutsche Hospitality because it had other brands like Intercity. We launched a new brand called Jazz, and then the other brands followed, like Max and Sleep. So Deutsche Hospitality was like the Taj of Germany or German-speaking countries, and it would be very interesting for all of you to know that in the 70s and early 80s, Indians did not need a visa to go to Germany. So when you look at people who are in the bracket of 70 to 85 years of age, they all sorry, I'm getting a request in between. Okay, so they all actually trained at Steigenberger, at the Frankfurt, mainly at the Frankfurt airport, Düsseldorf, or many other such places. Also, some of them went for higher education to the Steigenberger Hotel School, which exists till date in a place called Bad Reichenhall. And finally, I ended up coming back 1/3 for private reasons, 1/3 as I wanted to do this job, and 1/3 because after spending 5 years of Deutsche Hospitality, the same question came, what next? So I returned after almost 3 decades to India. So most of my professional life was spent outside. And although I joined IHCL in November 17, I think I was very blessed to be a CEO in a CEO capacity from November 2012 onwards. And before that, as Arindam mentioned, as the member of ExCom and a very senior leadership on a global position with the Radisson Hotel Group as a member of the Global Hotel Steering Committee. I think I'll come to some of the things later which shaped my life, but one thing which is very unique, I think is a journey that I'm very proud of, was I was the first Indian to be a head of a European hospitality group. And in Germany, I always stayed the Indian who spoke German. So I was the Indian to head the Deutsche Hospitality, although my passport had changed to a German passport long time ago. And here I come back to India as a person of Indian origin, but with a German nationality to run the icon of Indian hospitality. So Indian Hotels Company and Deutsche Hospitality and a German and an Indian kind of a thing, vice versa, is something very special. And why this is special? This is also special because, you know, the three things that I got the blessing from. In my times, ESSEC was a joint venture between Cornell and ESSEC till 2002. It was started in '83, and for the first 22 years, it stayed as an institute that was called Cornell ESSEC. So we did get all the faculty from Cornell in a French setting. And that's absolutely something very, very unique and special. So and later when I transitioned to after working for the Furing Group into Carlson Group of companies, I think the European precision and execution, the American style of marketing, and that kind of underlined through the emotional intelligence that Indian people have had is a unique combination. And I think this is the first of the key messages I would give, that it's not just the school, it's not just that one thing you do, but it's a combination of a lot of factors, or the right cocktail, and everyone has to figure out what's the best one for them. So I think the students need to figure that out. The second important thing, which is a big challenge that I see in India especially, is the application of what you learn in real life. You know, in theory, there is no difference between theory and practice, but in practice, there is really a difference. And application of knowledge in the book, in whatever little form one can, is highly critical and important. You see, a lot of people will tell you, and this book written by such and such, this one said that, that one said this, Churchill said that thing, and you know, we quote, use quotations, we memorize them, but the application of those quotes, living those values, I think is very, very critical. The second important thing which comes is the difference in service and servility. We are too much into servility instead of outstanding and excellent service. Sir, you know, the British left long time ago, but you know, this, you know, nobody's a knight out there. So a lot of subservient nature, I never had it even as a child. It's not that I changed after going to Europe. I was very well known in our North Indian circles as being somebody who would always challenge or dare to challenge the status quo and try to find a creative solution. So I think the third key message is to try to think out of the box. As an example, I thought, what could be my USP growing up? How would I make a future in this industry? Now, what I thought in 80s may not be relevant today, but at that time it was relevant. And I was one of the unique cases who was focusing a lot on learning languages at that point of time, because one of the ways out of the country to get higher education in Europe, and that exposure was to get some scholarship. And I thought, if I know some of these languages, I would stand a better chance than if you did not speak the language, or if I actually ended up going abroad, which happened, I would integrate much better because I spoke the language. And that's exactly what happened. So I think taking a plunge, following your heart, your emotion, and thinking outside the box is very important. The fourth message I would give is try to be flexible and agile and never be complacent. Why? Because the world is changing very, very fast. And as you see with a lot of startups, as we have also seen with the disruptors, it is not the big who will always beat the small. It will be the fast who will beat the slow. So I think agility is very important. And if you can combine strategies with agility, a combination of strategy and agility, I call it stragility. The efficient use of stragility is a key to success when you start your careers and start laying the foundations of your career. Cultivate a very keen sense of business. You know, customer is not just the only stakeholder. Yes, it's the key stakeholder and the most important stakeholder. But the shareholder is also a stakeholder. Employees are also stakeholders. There are a lot of stakeholders we have to please, and you have to have a sense of business. We are not there just to serve. We are serving to earn money. We're serving to earn and create values for the organization so they can do the good for the society. You can't do the good if you're not earning anything. So I think creating a keen sense of business in younger years is very, very important. The sixth message is be a learner for life. You know, everyone and everything around you is your teacher. So I don't know what I will learn from this session, from all of you when we interact with each other, but there is nobody in this world who knows everything. I think when like I'm making this presentation and I'm speaking and showing the slides, I'm only telling what I already know. But when I'm listening and when I'm learning something and listening to something that I don't know. And a lot of us don't do that. And I sometimes find it horrible when people are not even able to finish a sentence and keep getting interrupted, especially when we see that in most of the families, you know, everyone likes to talk at the same time. That's a unique capability we have, but it doesn't work globally. Another thing which I've learned is, yes, luck is very important, right place, right time. However, there is no substitute for hard work. You know, hard work is something you control, your own inputs, your own, your own conscious, your own number of hours. That is something you control. You don't control anything else, what's happening around you. So I think in this journey, this is the messages that I would like to give to the students, but I have some messages also for the faculty. And for the faculty, I would say, please inculcate leadership traits in the students, the art of collaboration, how to collaborate instead of all the time compete. Who came first, who came second? You know, nobody asked me ever. Also in my introduction, nobody ever said I came first in PUSA because I did not. I never came first in ESSEC. I never was a gold medalist or anything. I think that's very, very important, is inculcating leadership traits, human traits, core values is very, very important. A culture of performance, ability to handle uncertainty, communication. Very, very powerful communicators in real life tend to succeed more than those who know everything that is written in the book. And obviously, in a country with such a large population, we have to have some objective criteria. So of course, the scores matter, but that's not the sole criteria in real life. We should also teach students to focus on execution of getting things done and taking charge to lead from the front, whether it's in sports or it's in education or it's on your internship. I think if you do all this, you create visionaries, you create strategic thinkers, and you create leaders for tomorrow. Today, we are witnessing unprecedented times for our industry. The estimated loss, unfortunately, in travel and tourism industry globally is getting close to 3 trillion. There is 50 to 60% estimated decline in RevPAR, and almost 100 million jobs globally, as per the latest estimates of World Travel and Tourism Council. Our mantra to navigate through these challenging times is demand will bounce back and the sector will revive and eventually thrive over longer term. There is no reason why demand should not bounce back. Travel is a fundamental need of human beings. Seeing new places, enjoying, spending your disposable income is all a part and parcel of leading a good life. So it will eventually come back. Whether it comes back in 6 weeks or 6 months, that is a question, but it will start coming back. Every challenge is also an opportunity. Every crisis is an opportunity. We should try to embrace change than to become victims of change. If you keep resisting a change and keep stuck on your beliefs, then it is a challenge when pandemics like COVID-19 hit us. And don't hesitate from moving outside your comfort zone. That is very, very important, because tough times never last, but tough people do. Keeping this in mind, I will tell you a little bit also about IHCL, because I work there, and I would want some of you to follow us and do what we are doing. So I would like to share with us, to share with all of you, that we embarked very recently on a strategy which we call Reset 2020. The Reset, it stands for revenue growth, excellence in guest well-being, experience and operation, spend optimization. You know, when the pie is getting smaller, the only thing again you control is the cost, because the revenue is not in your hands. Hotels have been shut down, there has been a lockdown, so all you can do is keep a strict spend control, and to the extent possible, because there is also a life after COVID, so doing it in a reasonable fashion. Effective asset management, sweating your assets, and doing the right things, and being thrift and financially prudent in these times. Giving some examples on this, we launched something called Hospitality at Home, a kind of a hamper offering in our key cities of India. And we just launched a home delivery service under a new brand called Qmin. For those in Mumbai, the app has gone live. In Delhi and other places, the app will go live in a couple of more weeks. But offline, you can start ordering from Qmin from our signature restaurants, whether they are at Taj Palace in Delhi or Taj Mansingh, or in Mumbai at the Taj Mahal Palace, or in Chennai or Bangalore or Kolkata. 5 more cities will follow. This kind of 2 recent initiatives helped us create revenue that never existed. So today we can boast of having done 15 crores plus in revenue on these 2 initiatives only in the last 3 months. I think we are also known for Tajness, and we very quickly were able to turn around and give what we say a commitment, which was re-strengthened. We were always clean, we were always sanitized, we were always known for, you know, respecting the highest levels of hygiene, etc. But we re-strengthened that commitment, communicated to all our properties, and especially hotels that have stayed open in the service to the nation for hosting the medical staff or hosting the quarantine guests, have demonstrated this commitment in an excellent way. I keep talking about the community because it comes from the founder of the group. Jamshedji Tata, when he formed the Tata Group, said that community is not just another stakeholder, it's rather the purpose of the existence of every business. So the serving the community with passion has stood at our core values, and I will share a real life incident with you. On 21st of March, my colleague and a dear friend from Pusa, class of 84, maybe the face of Indian kitchen in India, but also outside of India, Sanjeev Kapoor called me and he said, "Chal yaar, kuch karte hain." I said, "Sanjeev, what do you want to do?" "No, let's start looking after the doctors in the Mumbai hospital. I met with someone and they are in a very bad situation because all these COVID cases are rising." So this was 21st of March, and I said, "Okay, give me 10 minutes, I get back to you." 10 minutes later, I called him because I had to check if our flight kitchen was open at the Taj Sats business. And that was closed, but they said they can open if we had to do it in terms of giving meals, which was around, we started with 6,000 meals a day for medical staff, which went up to 10,000, plus another migrant workers meal of another 35. So we ended up with the idea of Sanjeev, and a very quick, when I say the fast will beat the slow. On 22nd of March, which was the Janta curfew day, these meal services were launched, and 24th the lockdown followed. Till date, this is a little old figure. I think we've done around 2.7 million meals, including in Delhi, to to a few hospitals, Ram Manohar Lohia or Lady Harding or Safdarjung, and we have hosted now more than 60,000 room nights to the health fraternity. Especially the Bombay Municipal Corporation Commissioner called me and said, we need 1,000 rooms. I said, we don't have 1,000, but I'll organize 1,000 for you. So on a daily basis, on an average, almost 575 rooms were with our properties, with the Taj or Vivanta or Selections branded property in Mumbai, and the rest were in other hotels. But he said, I can't pay you. I said, okay, no problem if you can't pay us. Then he said, no, I can pay you, but I can pay you only 1,000 rupees per worker to stay in Taj for 3 meals, including laundry. And that meant, like, on a double occupancy, 2,000 rupees per room for 6 meals and laundry. And what we did was we subsidized for every 2,000 paid by BMC, by another 2,000 paid through the Taj Public Service Welfare Trust. This trust was formed post 26/11 terror attacks, and this virus is also some form of a digital attack or a virus attack on the human beings. So protecting the medical staff, which were trying to fight all these cases, was very important, and we were able to host them all this time, and we are doing it till date. I think here I would like to end. I think I've given a kind of a broader picture on IHCL, service to community, on what we mean by reset, my journey from Pusa to wherever I am till date, as well as some key messages for students as well as for the faculty. But I'm not sure if the video will work, but I have a little video on the Meals to Smiles. And if it works, well and good. If not, we'll open for the question answers.
That's why there is no audio.
Thank you.
Wonderful, Mr. Chatwal. What a thought-provoking and this presentation it was. I especially like the point that you recommended for the faculty and teachers at the Institute of Hotel Management to inculcate certain traits in our students. There are certain things, as you mentioned, that which are cultural, like emotional intelligence in our country. And at the same time, getting people prepared for the uncertainty. It is another in the cultural slices great Hofstede. If we talk about, uncertainty avoidance, we score very high in that area, but gradually as the transformation in our culture is taking place, we in fact are going towards that. Now, another important thing that reset 2020, I feel that the institutions have to go in for similar reset at our end also. Next Monday onwards, we are starting online classes for our students. We want to set the ball rolling, and then we will see, how it will go forward. Uh, One little thing, I would like to ask your opinion on that the hospitality education area, it is getting a lot of new entrants. Some of them have got expertise, from Europe and other places. Now, a 60-year-old institution like IHM Pusa, which is not by itself, under the National Council umbrella, there are close to 80 institutions there. So the kind of maneuverability which is there, the kind of flexibility that you could have in such a mammoth structure is limited. So is there any way in which myself and my colleagues could go to maintain the competitive advantage for our students?
See, I think it's a very interesting question. So I am also the chairperson for our own hotel school in Aurangabad, which is, which is also quite popular. But and I have not yet spoken there with the students or the. We just meet on the board most of the time. So I think the word you used, competitive advantage, is the key. So the competitive advantage is something you have that no one else can copy that easily, which cannot be imitated, right? And one of those you alluded to in your opening remarks is the largest and the most, professional and well-to-do alumni network. That is definitely a very big competitive advantage of Pusa. I think it has produced a lot of famous graduates. When I look at Chairman Emeritus of Radisson, KB Kachru, when I look at the former MD of, Centaur, ITDC, Anil Bhandari, when I look at, as I said, Chef Sanjeev Kapoor, in my class itself, I think was extraordinary talent out there, which ended up doing very, very well. I think that is definitely one competitive advantage. But going forward, you should think about a collaboration with, because one of the messages on the slide was culture of collaboration. I think you should have a collaboration with one or the other institute in Europe, not in Australia or US. That's my personal take on it. Because Europe is still, it's culturally very diverse, and it opens you to a lot of cultures in a very short time. And I think there should be an opportunity, an exchange program or something. I had been working on it myself. We created 2 scholarships for ESSEC. The first 2 students also went from the Taj Lands End and Taj Mahal Palace Tower in Mumbai. But unfortunately, this COVID came. Then we created 10 entrance and 1 fully paid scholarship with the school in Lyon, which was also an initiative which I personally kind of pushed it through. The reason was very simple. I used to think so much, how am I ever going to get this exposure or education? And we had to really struggle and, do all those things. So now being associated with all these schools, having lived in Europe, people know you. If I can be a facilitator, why not? So I think I would encourage you to look into that, because it will give students some kind of an exposure or a 1-year further education outside of India, where students from Pusa are preferred, and there is some form of financial package or aid available for them to do so. That way you'll be able to charge competitive fees. The institution will maintain high reputation. You will attract the best talent, and talent, anybody who wins talent has won the competitive advantage for themselves for several years to come. You're mute. I think you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. I think I will share your feedback with my seniors in the Ministry of Tourism, with our chairman, who is the Secretary Tourism himself. And I couldn't agree more with you, because the European, the way they do the thing. I would like to share with you that recently the National Council had an arrangement with the hotels, the Lausanne Hotels School. We call hotelier, we have a number of faculty in the IHM fraternity which have been uh, trained by EHL. So I myself went to the school, and we went to that qualified learning facilitator. And then Ecole Hotelier, their consultant division, they help us develop a similar program to be administered in India. So at the moment, all our faculty across all IHM, they are either QLS certified or uh, another certification which they prepared for our faculty in India, which is there. But I think transfer of credit from India to these institutions in Europe is what you are referring to, and maybe that will certainly add a great deal of value. I have had the exposure of the hotel school in The Hague also, which is right next to the Steinenberger Kurhaus.
Yes,
I am
yes.
very familiar with that hotel. So I lived in Skånevägen for 5 weeks, and every day, it was a walk to Kurhausen Park, Kurhaus to the Hague beach, and the kind of difference it is, how people approach the education and how they practice. It is something which is to be seen, to be believed. So
Yeah,
wonderful.
and I have been on the advisory board of both the schools. So I am still on the international advisory board of EHL. And a place where I almost went every year, and I still do this kind of a webinar I did a few weeks ago with them, with the strategy professor Damien Hodari, because I've always done it. For the last 20 years, I do that. So, it brings back good memories.
Right. I think if we are ready to take questions now, we have got a few principals. We have got a few principals from other institute, and the executive committee of PIMA also is there in attendance today. So, Mr. Arindam, would you like to pose some question at this point?
Yeah, I just have one question which may be relevant, for the future students, and that's I want to talk a little bit about asset management and see what your views are on bringing parts of asset management into the curriculum. Now, the curriculum that is there for the National Council is defined by the National Council, and of course, there is a mechanism in place to constantly keep that contemporary. But at PIMA, what we were wanting to do was to bring industry experience and industry relevant content to the college from PIMA side. And one of the things that we've been talking about is, of course, asset management. But the question is the content that is created by National Council be as it is. What are the few 4 or 5 aspects that you feel that as PIMA we can bring to the students of the college to prepare them better for the future, because those are not covered by the current content that is being taught at the college. So one thing that we thought about was asset management. You may want to talk about it, and any other subject that you think we should be taking based on your experience with the international colleges also.
Yeah, I would say that I'm not familiar, to be honest, with the current curriculum, but in my time, what I remember from my time, that is easy. But I can tell you a few things out of experience which are important. I think basic business understanding, as I said it on the presentation, is more important than asset management. Asset management is a very complex exercise, and it would be unfair on the young students, at that age, to confront them with this kind of business model. However, teaching, so in my times there was financial management, right? All the hotel accounting part of it. And that's fine to have hotel accounting, but I think basic elements of cost, volume, profit analysis, fixed cost, variable cost, break-even point, I think if one gets an understanding of that is already a good starting. I don't know if we do that today, but basically to break things into fixed, semi-fixed, variable, semi-variable, because people, the classical people will tell you it's either fixed or variable, but this pandemic has taught us even a fixed cost can become a variable cost. It depends how you tackle it, right? So asset management, I would leave it unless you're going for 1 year after college, and it should be at least after 3, 4, 5 years of working in the industry, because otherwise it is burdening too much. Asset management requires knowledge of law, it requires knowledge of finance, it requires knowledge of space planning. There's a lot of those kind of things. You know, it is return per square foot, return per square meter, whatever you call it, consumption per. That would get a bit complex for people, you know, like 19, 20, 21 years of age. I think it's not fair on them.
Sure.
First, they should learn the basics and the basics of being a good hotel keeper, and then comes the rest. Should be a step-by-step process.
Thank you.
I would like to present something for the benefit of Mr. Aridham and Mr. Chhatwal as well. We are looking at a very big opportunity in the face right now, because so far, while you, Mr. Chhatwal, and I studied, we were only studying for getting a diploma in hotel management, which got upgraded to a BSc degree. But the degree was being given by the Indira Gandhi National Open University. Now, for the last few years, we have been trying to make the IHMs or the National Council the degree awarding body on its own. And that process seems to be, finding the pace now. So hopefully, if that does come through in next year or so's time, we would be titled as a institution of national importance. And then we will not have to collaborate with the IGNOU. We could be independent, and then a massive exercise to upgrade our curriculum to take them to the contemporary levels, would be there. But to answer your question, Mr. Chhatwal, the cost elements and variable and fixed variable and how each cost behaves as the volumes go higher, those are still part of the curriculum. And there are a few like facilities management and facilities planning and layout and per square foot, though the COVID is changing a lot of that now, but those things have been incorporated into the curriculum.
Okay, very good.
Right. So I think there are a few questions which are being put up by our colleagues. For saving time, we are
Sir, I hope you have another 10-15 minutes. Mr.
Sure,
Sir.
sure.
Thank you, sir.
There is no difference. On the first question, you cook with water in India and you cook with water abroad. Managerial, as I said before, it's a little bit more structured, and you just do plan your day and you do follow up, and you actually, what gets measured gets done. So I think that is followed very much more vigorously, especially in the western part of the world.
right.
Next. Yeah, no risk, no fun, I would say. So, there is a gap or there is a difference in taking risk versus being rash. So if you are taking risk and they are measured risk and are not going to have impact on human life or impact on certain other things, yes, it is. It was also a risk for me, I was the first person in my family to get into hotel business. Nobody wanted that at that time. I think a lot of us have gone through the same. It was a risk spending so much time and money learning French and German. Maybe it would have been of no use at all. It was a risk, leaving India and a very good job and going into this Furing Group, which is a very small promoting company and also an hotel operation company, but a very small one, and giving it the kickstart that we gave. It was a risk after being a Carlson Residor veteran for like 14, 15 years in the member of the Global Hotel Steering Committee to leave that and go to a German company. And it was a big risk to go to a German company and become the CEO. But one of the dreams that I had also, as I mentioned before, that if I learned the language, I might get a scholarship. There used to be a scholarship also to go to Steigenberger. So I had always dreamt of learning German and becoming a trainee in the company. And then I got a chance to be the CEO of the same company. I took that risk. And there was a risk leaving all that after 3 decades to come back to India. So there is a risk in everything. There was a risk 2 days ago to come to Delhi for a CII meet because I chair the tourism committee of CII. And there is a risk with, if all goes well, on Sunday night, I will leave for Europe for a few weeks for private reasons. So there is a risk in everything you do, but none of these risks mean that there is a risk to human life, there is a risk to somebody's, ethics or any kind of those kind of challenges. So yes, risk taking goes hand in hand. Um, and you should also remember all the books will teach you high risk is high return and low risk is always low return. So any good book will have you this on the matrix that when you put risk and return or risk and reward, that high risk will always have high return. How is IHCL creating a niche to meet the post-pandemic alterations? All this has been implemented. You could go on one of our websites or also on LinkedIn and just look at the video, which is 2 minutes, a commitment re-strengthened. I think that gives it all from a sanitization purposes. But I think more important would be getting the fear out of the minds of people that hotels are a safe place to stay and they are not an unsafe place, that it's okay to go for air travel. So I think that is something the industry is confronted with. Short term, yes, there is a short term damage, but hopefully we can get rid of it by using the culture of collaboration among all tourism bodies, hotel bodies, restaurants, etc., to come up with creative strategies in overcoming that fear. Any other question?
There are a few more questions, yes. We are not able to get them on the screen as far as they are coming. There is a question. It says that since Tata has a reputation for helping the Indian community during difficult times, how important it is for a brand like IHCL to maintain a balance between its profit-making policies and its reputation?
Wow, very good question. So listen, when we do these things, we don't think of profit. Profits just follow as a consequence of your acts. And especially in a country like India, you should never forget the use of the word karma. It does follow you, and it's not instant profits. Those who have worked with the group, those who have seen, there are studies written on Taj employees of the Taj Mahal Palace Tower in Mumbai by Harvard School of Business, where employees gave their lives, saving the lives of the guests. So that is decades of hard work and a century of hard work, because the company is 116 years old or 116 years young, and it is a culture built over a century. So I think everything in life, you can't first look at the profitability. You have to first do the right thing and the rest follows.
Right. Thank you. One question I would like to ask, they say that you learn more from your mistakes rather than from your successes. I don't understand that you made many mistakes in your career, but if on reflection, have you ever wondered that if you had acted differently in a situation, that would have placed you in a much better advantageous position?
Almost every day I think like that because on a very personal note, I'm very spontaneous, even now answering the questions. It's not like a measured talk from a corporate CEO. Mostly what I say comes from the heart. So it has its own consequences, but God has given me enough courage and strength to overcome the consequences the next day and the next week and the next month, because the intention is always good. I think it's the intention is important. If your intent is not bad, then you overcome a lot of mistakes I made from my school time to my college time. Uh, Actually, yeah, even in the college time, I had made mistakes. So in Pusa times, there used to be a cinema called Rachna, and there used to be a cinema called Satyam, maybe, I don't know, in Patel Nagar.
Patel Nagar, that's right.
How much I bunked, and one day the principal was Mr. B.K. Khanna, and I was starting because I had this Bajaj Chetak, which used to take me in the morning to Alliance Française in South Extension and then rush to Pusa, and from Pusa to Maxwell and back. I was starting this scooter to bunk the class to go and watch a movie, and he came in and he took the key of the scooter, and then he wrote a letter to my father. So, and then once you're through all this, you say, why did I do this? Why did I bunk school when I was in school? Why did I end up fighting with this one or that one? It's a lot of such things which it's just a part of growing up, and that's how you keep learning from your mistakes. That's when you try to, become a parent, and then you try to tell your children, don't do this because you have done this and how dangerous it was in hindsight. That's why we also have the sayings, in hindsight, we are all smarter. So, but I think it's all a part of, that phase of life, and then the next phase and the next phase and the next phase. But the basic personality of the individual does not change. It is formed in the age of 14 to 16 or 17 in the teens. And the rest, what comes is just the experience on top.
Absolutely. And in a conversation like we are having today, you need not be very formal. You are the CEO of a largest hotel company in the country, but you are talking to your family, a family of which you were a part of at one time, and everybody is looking at you as a super senior, from their own institution. So
yeah, but the challenge is if you say something wrong and you're recording it, then it can come back in your face.
For that, sir, we have to meet when you're in Delhi.
There are questions flowing in, but we would only pose a few more questions, one or two,
okay,
time permitting. Please alert us when we have to stop taking questions, please. So there is one question which is from a student called Dhruv Negi. He talks about automation and artificial intelligence its uses in the hotel. So it says, then which areas of the hotel do you expect to see most amount of automation in? Dhruv Negi.
We just came up with our digital announcement, digital check-in, digital payments, a lot of digitization is changing our lives. And artificial intelligence, the more and more use of that will change our lives further. So it's just a matter of time. The only challenge we have is the hotel business is not such a rich business. The returns don't allow you to keep investing in technology the way the industry should, because the speed of change or the rate of change in technology is far higher than the industry can afford with its normal capital reserves that it has the capacity to spend. So I think that's one part of the answer. The second is the positioning. So the lower you are at the end of the pyramid, the more digital and the more technology driven you can be. But if somebody is going to come to Rambagh Palace or Umaid Bhavan in Jodhpur, and everything is going to open with a mobile phone, and a robo is going to come and talk to you instead of the normal traditional dance and garlanding and the shower of the rose petals, I think the palaces will be out of business. It is my personal belief in the short term. So unless we can find ways to do all that also digitally, then it might work. But I think the industry is still a bit more personalized, and especially to a great extent in the Asian part of the world, we are known for hospitality, whether it's India or it is Thailand or it's Indonesia. That is a part of our culture. Whether you call it Atithi Devo Bhavo or you can't have a Atithi Devo Bhavo only through a robo. So yes, all this is a part of our life. It will be very important. It will change the way we do business, but it will come. It's still a bit far away at the luxury and upper upscale and upscale level, but it'll come very fast in the budget category.
There is a student called Akash Paranjpe. He has said he has complimented you for sharing your journey and all the journey, from your days at Susar right up to the level where you are in the place of prominence in the industry. His question is, how exactly does one get to work out of India to get a foreign job as a beginner? So this person seems to have an aspiration to go abroad and start his career in some enterprise there. So is there any way we can guide this person, young man?
See, abroad can be also going to Sri Lanka or Nepal. So first of all, one has to know where you want to go, and then you draw a map. So where you want to go and how you are going to get there. So the how part cannot come before you have defined where you want to go to. But let's assume I shared my journey about my wanting to go to Europe. I made language as the foundation. When I was in ESSEC, and this was 1989, 90, and 91, I graduated. It was also the year of German reunification. I was always studying German. My German was always as good as my English. And it even became better than my English, or is even better than my English today. So, and my thesis on my MBA was based on the revival of the hotel business in the 5 new states of Germany, which was the former East Germany. And this was a time when other Indian students were buying the microwave and a music system and getting it back to India, like the state of the art. I spent all my money into doing that research. So I think everyone needs to take that risk and needs to define what they want to do. You can't have, bread buttered all sides. It doesn't work. Front, back, and the corners also. It is not possible. So you have to define where you want to go. Then comes how you're going to get there. And then what are you going to do to have that sustainable professional experience? There is one challenge. The longer you stay abroad, the more difficult it is to come back. This I can tell you that it's not easy.
Yes. I think let this be the last question. We have taken a lot of your time. This person, the student says that it is in respect of the COVID time that the service etiquettes are supposed to be changing. The wearing of the mask and the social distancing norms and non-contact. So the person says, how should one prepare in the current situations and yet express the courtesy and the new etiquette to the esteemed guests?
I don't know, I don't think anyone has the right answer. I think the one sentence that sums it up all is, this too shall pass, sooner or later. This is not going to be forever. And if it was forever, maybe like human race when started was not wearing clothes, they found it as odd to wear clothes when they started wearing it. Maybe today we find it odd to wear masks. Maybe they become a part of our life. But either the question will not be raised or it will be such a normal. The new normal will be like that nobody will even think about it, and the things will evolve around it. But I do believe that my personal belief is this too shall pass, and faster than a lot of people think.
I think there could be no better way to finish this important interaction on a positive note. Well, I would invite Mr. Anilam Kunar in a moment, but before I say goodbye, I would ask you, when will we have the opportunity to welcome you here in the campus and to show you, what progresses that we are making. There is a lot of change, since 1984. The institution has a new building, and then that building has been renovated maybe 10 times already, and still the renovation work is going on. So we were planning a big, working lunch, a very slow, leisurely pace lunch with you, on the 26th of March. And we still want to showcase that. So please.
Sir, Mr. Pant, I have a small influence in Mr. Chatwal's life when he comes to Delhi. On the executive committee of PIMA, I have Gaurav Pokhriyal. And
Yes.
I would expect that Gaurav Pokhriyal would know Mr. Chatwal's plans. So one of these days, he can just hijack Mr. Chatwal's car and move it towards Pusa.
Absolutely.
Gaurav
No,
was
no, no.
supposed to
I
attend
think I need to intervene here. I think I can tell you very proudly for the Golden Jubilee celebration of Pusa, I flew all the way from Frankfurt.
Yes, sir.
So I can see Tipish Mahajan here, and we have another common friend who's class of 82. He flew from New York. So
Well, and we are preparing for the
I
Bank
cannot
Jubilee as
tell I cannot express enough the fact that if when I write to Mr. Chatwal, the response is usually within 4 hours. And we all have our day jobs, and I always wonder, how does this gentleman who is leading such a large company and even in these kind of times respond so quickly? And I have only one thing to say: it is probably the love and affection that he has for his alma mater and for the college, that in spite of being so busy, that he'll be able to take out time, but also address and respond so quickly. So words are not enough to express our gratitude, Mr. Chatwal. You are a big inspiration to a lot of people in our college, including myself. And we deeply appreciate your time. We deeply appreciate the effort. But yes, we would definitely like to have you in the college one of these days, as Mr. Pant mentioned. That's something that I'm sure will happen in good time.
thank you for all your kindness and all your positive remarks. Let me just state, it's very kind of you to say all the nice things you said, but I'm not sure if I am deserving all of that, but some of it is definitely true.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And
looking forward.
thank you to the IHM Pusa team. A very big thank you to the technical team. We always forget that, in these times, if we did not have the technical team doing what they are doing, we will not be having this smooth conversation. Our attendance at the peak went above 200, although we obviously had 494 registrations, is what I was told at the last count. So obviously a fairly big hit. We will continue this process as we go along. Thank you to the students. Thank you for asking questions. Glad to know that we had principals from other colleges as well. So overall, I think a great day and a great event for us. Thank you, Mr. Chatwal. Thank you, Mr. Pant, and thank you to my PIMA Executive Committee colleagues as well. I can see some of us who are here on the call. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I can sign off now, right? Thank you.
Thank you.